I'm the floating dot head.
But you're my dot.
You're the most handsome dot.
Oh, stop it, guys. You guys. All right. Shit, where's my fucking... This? All right. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Nerd to the Third, your stop for video games, movies, and nerd culture. What's the episode?
That's what I was about to ask. Were you guys what the episode was? I think it's 17.
17? Okay. Episode 17. Today, we're bringing you the Power of Three. Shut the fuck up, phone. Today, we're bringing you the Power of Three with your hosts, Nick, Nate, and the ever-rotating third chair, the best part of the best Fast and Furious movie, Drift0r.
Hey, good to be here.
All
that
right.
Was a good one. That was a really good one.
Thank you. I thought I worked very hard on it. I was like up hard last night. And I'm just like, I gotta get this. I went to sleep and then all of a sudden I woke up in a sweat and I'm like, I've got it. So I mean, not that you need to, but typically I go, hey, guest, why don't you tell people where they can find you and what you do?
Well, you can find me by typing in my name, which you probably see in the title of the episode, Drift0r. 0 is in the numerical 0, and that'll pull up most of my stuff. Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, it's all pretty much just /Drift0r.
Noise.
So if people don't know who you are, kind of just a brief, like what do you do, and kind of
for all our Amish listeners,
okay,
let them know.
So I am a YouTuber, and I've been making YouTube videos for almost a decade now. I've done pretty well for myself, about to hit 1.4 million subs, and I have followers on Twitter and Mixer and Twitch. I've done primarily Call of Duty, but shooters in general, and also some higher level topical videos that a lot of other people would have shied away from, that I probably should have shied away from. It's not normal that you see a Call of Duty video that discusses quick scoping and the nuances of issue framing when it comes to abortion debates, all in the same context. So lots of colorful videos on the channel.
Bro, he's talking. You're embarrassing me in front of the wizards.
Everybody's recording their own audio. You can just like mute that beer can pop. If this is on YouTube, it has to be super family friendly. That was orange soda, right?
That was orange soda, exactly.
Soda.
Yep.
It was Purina.
Purina? Why would I?
Well, orange soda's bad for kids, so that'll probably get you demonetized. Better stick with canned water.
Yeah, you don't want them to get cancer,
actually,
do you?
You know how hard it is to drink water out of a beer stein? It's very difficult. It's not very easy. This is the only clean dish I have in my house.
I know that life. I grew up with a house that had 2 cups, and we had to clean those cups every day. So
I've got like 12, but most of them are like not decorated. No. I'm not that
this fancy man over here with his 12 cups.
No. Most of them are like a little China stuff that we just threw in the cupboard or whatever. Anyway.
Why does nationality matter to you? Right?
Are you judging porcelain based on its country of origin? That is not very 2018 of you, sir.
No, not at all.
Fake news over here.
Thank you for jumping on that bandwagon. All right, so I mean, this is kind of a special quote unquote episode. I mean, we got Drift0r on here, which is really cool. And first off, let me start the episode off. Thank you for joining us here. I mean, especially like 1.4 million. I don't think I've gotten a hold of anybody with that kind of caliber, and so for you to give us the time of day, even just by responding, is one thing, but then actually coming on our show, I mean, both of us are very, very much appreciative of that.
Oh, anytime. Well, I'm glad to be here.
Great. So you know what, we're going to start off with our first segment. You want to know what pushes my buttons?
What pushes your buttons, Nick?
So this is just coming out. This is just recent. So, this, by the time, if this is disproven by the time I get everything edited, I'll make sure to edit this part out, and I guess we'll just have a shorter show. But Rockstar is allegedly fake news, is allegedly not giving independent store owners Red Dead Redemption until November. Now, I mean, this is the hot take of all hot takes. So once again, if this is disproven, then you might not even be hearing this, or it got disproven after I got editing and I was too lazy. So, but just I guess this kind of sucks, especially if you do have the whole mom and pop digital grop shops. It's one thing that kind of sucks. So, Drift0r, give me your impressions. I mean, this was something actually you didn't hear about until
I learned about it just in our little pre-show chats, and I was like, that can't be right. So I looked it up, and the report comes from independent store owners that are calling Kotaku, saying that their distributors will not give them Red Dead 2 on launch, not for the October 26th launch, and they may not get any copies until November. However, some stores have reported that there is a possibility that there will be extra Xbox One copies. So I'm not sure if this is a shortage issue or if there is a contractual limitation that we're going to hear about soon. Wow. I swallowed something bad. I think it was a dog hair. Got fat dogs just shedding. So anyway, they could be doing something cheesy. Like, you know how Ubisoft does this a lot. Pre-order now at Best Buy and get the exclusive Best Buy greeter skin, like, you know, pre-order now at Walmart and get your exclusive Walmart camo on all your guns kind of thing. It could be a more extreme version of that, where we're only selling the game at a certain number of retailers, and those retailers will in turn pay Rockstar for that, as I'm sure that Sony and Microsoft have each paid Rockstar to keep the game off of PC, which I'm more upset about the fact that they just said there's literally never going to be any Red Dead 2 on PC, because that's BS.
Right.
So I would imagine there's some sort of backdoor deal that like Walmart and GameStop and Target cut, where they paid some fixed price to have exclusivity of sales for some weeks. And I don't think that's going to affect too many consumers. The majority of people will probably either do digital download or go buy at Walmart or GameStop or one of the big chains. However, it completely shafts the small number of independent game store owners. Like, independent game store is kind of a rough business to be in. That's not really a high money business. I don't know a lot of independent game stores that are really doing well, to be honest with you.
Oh, and definitely.
They're getting squeezed out by big chains and competition. So this just kind of gives them the middle finger, which it's dickish and rough for me to say that they're not a significant factor in the overall like game distribution environment. But it's still just fucking rude. We can curse on this. Is this a Christian Minecraft server?
No.
Yes, this is a Christian one. Jesus.
Okay.
No, you can curse. We'll edit it out.
Just making sure.
Yeah, no worries.
You just add little duck quacks and pig oinks every time I say the word. That's what I do in my videos.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, I mean, then we wouldn't be able to distinguish it from Nate. So, Nate, what's your opinion?
So, yeah, I'm not surprised about that. To this, I don't really have an opinion on. To Red Dead 2 as a whole, I kind of do. Just in the sense of, for one, I'm kind of tired of hearing all the news leading up to the launch, and it's not necessarily.
Can't I just enjoy my game? Jeez.
Well, it's not even a media blackout thing. It's just every single news story that comes out just kind of is making me go, I don't really even want to play this game. And which is sad because I love Red Dead Redemption 1 and I was excited for it. But for me, the kind of person I am and the time that I have, like, I can't, if I get Red Dead, it's going to be like maybe in the spring when nothing else is there. Like I don't have like I heard there's another story about how Red Dead's probably going to be on 2 discs. And it's like,
wait, seriously?
Game's just kind of too big, honestly too big that there's other stuff that I can play right now and I'm not super worried about it. But it's just kind of the zeitgeist right now is more Red Dead. And it's kind of just being too overbearing to me personally.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely has reached that, that peak, so to speak. And it's like, I'm kind of right where you are, because it's like, I'm not planning on buying it. I would like to play it because so I can, report on it and everything. But, for my own reasons, I'm not actually purchasing it. But at the same time, I'm at that same spot. It's like there's so many people just talking about just how awesome it is, and just, oh my God, games are never going to be the same again. And it's like, until we play it, until we figure out what exactly is going on, like, in what exactly could they do to just completely change everything about what we think about games, about how we play them? And it's like, I really feel it is just, just allegories at this point. It's just like, oh, it changed my life. Well, it's like, well, good for you.
Well, so the way they're going to change what?
Sorry, go ahead.
That's the way they're going to change it is, spoiler alert, Red Dead 2 is the Matrix.
Dun, 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 dun.
So, big spoiler. You buy your in-game money with real money. Microtransactions.
Oh.
Those are going to be there. You know those are going to be there. We don't know what yet, but it's going to be there.
Nick has a very interesting, like, when we first talked about Red Dead, he was like, I'm not going to get it because the predatory practices of GTA 5. And
that's not good, yes.
I actually hadn't heard that point of view until you had brought it up.
Yeah,
just because
you're living in a bubble, man, and they're making frogs gay.
So for me, I like
that shirt.
Yeah.
I wear it around, not confuse the hell out of people.
I like GTA Online. I think it's really fun. But when it comes to like the whole, hey, you can either grind thousands of hours to raise enough money to get the the Batmobile or whatever, or you can pay this much. It doesn't bother me because I'm like, I'm never going to play this game enough to get that, so it doesn't affect me.
Okay, makes sense.
At least it's a fixed price. It's not, hey, buy some boxes until the Batmobile just magically comes out of them.
Right.
Oh yeah, because that's much preferable. Like, I don't know. I guess the only advantage to that, maybe you could pay $1 and get the Batmobile, but $100 of the equivalent of $100 in game to real world money is, like he said, either thousands of hours or $100. Like, that is ridiculous.
The problem is that gamers will pay for it. People will just pay the money for it. Even if only if only like 20 people did it, then they made what, $2,000?
Right, exactly. And it cost them maybe a couple days of, tweaking a couple of knobs and pulling some levers.
You're going to have to go now, because games cost more than $60 per sale to make. The price of games has not increased in 15 years, regardless of cost of living or inflation, or the fact that games have higher budgets and more sales than movies and stuff. And the volume of sales, unfortunately, doesn't make up for it, because the cuts that Sony and Microsoft and GameStop and Walmart and your shipper and distributor and retailer have also gone up. That's why game companies push digital downloads. They get a much higher cut of the profits. But the microtransactions are a method of charging more than $60 for a game. Now, obviously, some companies are irresponsible as hell with that, and they like to upcharge you and just bleed you dry. Other companies are a little bit more responsible, and they're just kind of trying to push gamers up to that $80 or $100 mark where they're actually turning some profit. The difficult thing is, and I get constant, we'll say, flack for this on my channel. Anytime I say games should cost $100, and they're like, F you, rich boy, spoiled, F word, you get all your stuff for free, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, I just know how much it costs to make games, and the price hasn't gone up. The price needs to go. If you don't want microtransactions, your base price is just going to have to go higher. And that's, even you compare to movie tickets now have gone up compared to what they were 15 years ago, even in like
very true. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and it, like, I feel like a lot of people do kind of see it like from your perspective, and I'd even be one of the people who would agree that like a GTA game being $100 like wouldn't be that bad, because it's like, what you're getting. The problem arises when the developer is the one that gets to decide what X, Y, and Z are worth. And so then you get some people, like you said, that do it right, or quote unquote, in my opinion, right. And then you get other people who just, I think the most recent example would have to be, just escape me, single player game, had microtransactions in
Assassin's
it.
Creed
Assassin's
Odyssey.
Creed.
Yeah.
Assassin's Creed is the
do you
most
want to
recent.
randomly grind levels for 20 hours, or do you just want to play the last half of the campaign with microtransactions? Like,
Exactly that, and then on top of that, a lot of people are pissed off about Devil May Cry. You can get the red orbs, and it's like, but it's on the one hand, I want to be as, I want to give certain developers the benefit of the doubt and go, you know what, it costs more, but the price hasn't gone up. It's like, I trust you. But then you have little stuff like that. It's like, you don't buy red orbs in like God of War, and yet God of War is an absolutely amazing game. And so when you put, like, especially like Devil May Cry and God of War, when you put those type of games right next to each other, and it's like, well, here's one, no microtransactions, awesome game, great story, the best graphics in mankind ever created. And then you have Devil May Cry, which might be a little bit more twitchy, a little bit more combo based, but still it's kind of a similar game. And they're like, oh, you know what? Our game is not good enough. You should pay us more in order to skip forward. And, like, I'm on the Jim Sterling side, where it's like, if it's not good enough by itself and you're trying to get me to skip the game, then like that's not saying a lot about your game.
No, that's terrifying when you see single player campaigns that allow you to skip around. I do think that Black Ops 3 kind of did it right in that the whole campaign was unlocked from the beginning, and you can just pick what missions you want to play. Like, if you just don't want to do a mission, you don't just have to do that. But there's other games I've played going back for like ages to where you just had the option at some points. Like, there were some parts you'd have to play, and then you'd hit some levels and you'd have the option like, do you want to skip these levels? And I'm like, what? Really? I get to just hit X to skip all these levels? And coincidentally, in that game, it was not very fun levels. So those were there for a reason. And
so it kind of gave you an out.
Yeah, that's a very spooky indicator of game quality when there are level skip options built into it.
Yeah.
Well, it's like with Assassin's Creed in particular. I remember when they introduced microtransaction. I think it was Unity, because that was the first time I ever remember.
Yeah, I think so, because they had multiplayer as well.
Yeah. Well, I remember the Helix credits being a big issue, because there was a report that someone made about how they purchased the highest bundle you could get and still had money left over because they had already bought everything, and they were talking about how the system was broken. I know that Helix has still been in the game after that. Like, I know it was in Origins and I know it's in Odyssey, but even in both of those, I haven't really. I mean, Odyssey, not particular, but in Origins, I never noticed like a need to purchase them. Like, maybe for better equipment, but going back to going back to the games like as more expensive. I'm also in the camp of I'll pay more for it. If a game's going to be $80, that's fine. And like, even like Greg Miller, excuse me, I had a air bubble. Greg Miller and all them from Kind of Funny, they've had conversations like dozens of times about like The Witcher 3, for example. The Witcher 3, Cyberpunk 2077, and Red Dead Redemption 2 are all examples of games that I would not be surprised if they wanted to charge $100 or more for it, because you basically created this other world, this actual playable, livable other world. Sure, sell it to me for $120.
I agree with you, but I don't think a lot of other gamers would. A lot of people, and we're doing very negative stereotyping, make choices on purchases based only on price. The number one thing I learned in business school is that price number will matter more than your marketing, more than your brand, more than your features, more than how good the product actually is. That price number is the number one thing, which is why airlines, with the exception of Southwest, but pretty much every other airline, works super hard to get their economy price just stupidly dirt cheap. And then first class is higher, but they nickel and dime you. Like, if you go fly, let's say, I'm going to pick on American Airlines because they're like the McDonald's cheeseburger of airlines here in the US. You get on American Airlines, it'll say like $200 from here to New York. Okay. Oh, well, there's this fee and that fee. And by the time you're done paying fees and taxes, it turned into $240.
Yep.
And then when you get there, there's a bag check fee and a second bag check fee if you're taking a long trip. And then when you get on the plane, if you want anything other than water, that's like $15 there. And if you want to watch some of the content on the TV, it's another $5. And the Wi-Fi is $10 for the flight. And by the time you're done, if you enjoy these things, by the time you're done with it, you'll have spent $320. And that's kind of how games are doing. But the reason they do this, American Airlines and games, is because they know that, let's say, trying to think of a good example, God of War and Devil May Cry, okay? So let's say that Devil May Cry came out as a $20 game with microtransactions. It would just get way more sales than God of War, and then people would probably spend on the microtransactions. In the same way that if Red Dead 2 and Cyberpunk launched head-to-head same date, I know that's not going to happen, just two big single-player juggernauts throwing down, and Cyberpunk said, our game's $120, but we will have free DLC and microtransactions for life. And Red Dead was like, we're $60 with other things. I guarantee you Red Dead's going to sell more because the average person and the casual gamer and the mom and the dad and the person shopping for presents and respectfully gamers that are not wealthy and have to make very serious decisions about their entertainment dollars are just going to go with the cheaper one because they have the 60 today and they can spend the 5 and the 10 and the other 10 later, and it's not that big a deal, but they may not be able to justify that 120 up front.
Exactly.
Well, so
I mean, you look at Fortnite as the perfect example of, I think, one of the only reasons, maybe not the only one. I'm going to give it some credit, obviously, but one of the main reasons I feel like it blew the fuck up is because it was free.
Oh, 100%.
You got PUBG. You have tons of people who are looking at PUBG. They're watching their favorite Twitch streamers, but here's this thing that, is unabashedly very similar. But hey, it's free and it's kooky. So of course that's why it did. Then you look at
it's free. Mobile PUBG is very expensive. It's only $30, but you have to have a $2,000 PC to play it properly.
Oh yeah, right. But then you look at mobile games. And mobile games are the same way, where you have tons that are like free to play, quote unquote, but then you have really good ones that you have to pay for. So, go ahead, Nate. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
Mobile games are like cancer. I have had so many companies want me to do things with their mobile games, and I usually email them dick pics back and stuff like that. So,
well, so
just be like some company with some super bad microtransaction system, and they're like, "Hey, we want you to make a video with our game and encourage your fans to buy this." And I'll just get on Google and like a diseased penis, and I'm like, "Why don't you buy this?" and just send it in.
So real quick, something because before coming on the show, I went to go see Venom. Something I saw that was very interesting in the opening.
Diseased penis made you think of Venom.
No, the mobile games. No, the mobile games. In the opening, like part of where that has like the directed by whatever. One of the things that I think it was produced by or something like that was Tencent. Was Tencent Pictures.
What?
And I was like, that's interesting.
Tencent does a lot of American movies. They did. I think they partially worked on the Meg. They worked on King Kong. They worked on a little bit on the Avengers, because if you're going to distribute in China, you got to go through Tencent for the most part, or maybe like a couple other companies.
Yeah, it's the Vic. It's got to get a cut.
And Tencent is not really as much a technology firm as they used to be, as much as they are a big licensing and investing group. There's Pacific Rim was pretty much entirely a Tencent production with the very clearly Chinese characters and voice acting and stuff.
That makes sense.
It's interesting.
So real quick, my hypothetical question would be, if we raise the cost of games or the cost of the barrier to entry, could that potentially be good for the gaming community in the sense that it may weed out some of the toxicity from the barrier of entry being higher than just $60?
Well, it definitely would be. It would be good for the majority of the gaming community. It would disproportionately punish low-income gamers. It would squeeze them. I don't know what percentage that would be, and that's usually not the group that you want to punish because it feels bad.
Right.
However, in the long run of things, if games were priced appropriately, then there would be less need for microtransactions and less need for predatory practices, which meant that developers could again focus on making their games better and not have to worry about how to game the system. Because I've been in the gaming industry a while now on the YouTube side, which is kind of a weird side, but I can't tell you how many developers have told me, well, we built the game this way, and then corporate came in and said, well, the shareholders are demanding higher returns, so we want microtransactions, and they had to go back and rework things and force microtransactions in there. Not one game company, but a ton of game companies. They all have to do it because corporate demands. It's usually, now there's some studios out there, developers that just like money, but usually it's a publisher or whoever their financial beholders are that want those microtransactions.
Yeah. I mean, there's average, that one. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, on average, I think they do like average out to be about another $40 to $60 a player. So about 100 or 120 total for the game.
Right. But yeah, there was that one interview with Lord Vanderhall, and he was basically saying how praise be. But Lord Vanderhall, he said basically they had one title that they wanted for Blackout, but Activision came in pretty much and was like, oh no, we're going to call it Blackout. And it's like you could almost see the anguish in his eyes, because it's like, no, we want to call it this. And
did he even say what that was?
No, yeah, it was on Game Informer, so you can watch it on Game Informer. But it's like, yeah, you could tell it's like we had one title, we all agreed on it, and that's saying something. You know, you have like hundreds of people, and they're all like, "Dude, this title is the best title to call it." And then Activision comes in with their suits and their money, and they're like, "You're gonna call it Blackout?" And they're like, "Yes."
Blackout's not the worst title I've ever heard.
Well, true. I'm not ragging necessarily on that effect that it's called Blackout. I'm ragging on the fact that that's not what they wanted to call it. And something as small as a title, like think of The Last of Us. Like, what if it had to be called, Fungus Zombies? Like
that happens. There was an interview a while back for, do you remember, I'm derping on the game, BioShock 2. And how people shit on the cover because it was like a handsome, manly man with a shotgun, holding a woman. And the developers talked about developing that title art or box art because BioShock 1 was very artsy, but it didn't sell well enough. And they did a lot of research and they interviewed people. They went to literally talk to gamers one-on-one. And what they determined was that the box art, the more like action hero-y it is, the more generic it is, the more wide appeal. So when you make a box art that's got handsome man with guns saves the woman, there's way more people going to buy that than a really eccentric box art like, say, Mirror's Edge or what was another, like one of the like Cyberpunks will probably be really eccentric. That doesn't appeal to enough people to justify the sales. So the compromise the BioShock team made was, well, we're just going to make this dude bro box art, but we get to make our game however we want it.
Yeah. It's like the closest they can get it to make it look like a porno novel cover is better.
Yeah, no, it's very simple. When you start dealing with marketing, things get weird, and focus groups is so much weirder. Focus groups are a nightmare.
Oh yeah, I would totally know because we've been in so many, right, Nate?
Well, the only focus groups like that I visually have experience with is whenever they do the gag on Impractical Jokers. Those are my favorite segments.
Oh God, that's so awesome.
Yeah, it's you can get, I know there's movies that have been ruined from focus groups. Like what was one?
Oh yeah, right.
What was the Will Smith movie with vampires? I Am Legend.
I Am Legend.
Yeah, they completely redid that movie based on focus groups. Same thing with Suicide Squad and some other stuff.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
I bet Last Jedi was probably on that list too.
I'd imagine they didn't do as many focus groups because if they did focus groups, then somebody would have noticed some of the glaring plot holes or logical problems.
So go
like gravity in space?
Nihilistic tone of the movie where nothing changed and nothing mattered and all of your efforts are wasted and almost everybody dies for no reason whatsoever.
Yeah.
I can see you holding back such a radically different opinion.
No. To be 100% fair, to be 100% honest, I am aware that The Last Jedi is
Suck balls.
Very not problematic, but there's a lot of issues with it. Where I come from, just in the sense of like, you see me holding back, is just like the way that I view Star Wars just being so close to me, like growing up. Like I'm kind of one of those that I'm like, I see it has problems. I still kind of enjoyed the ride. I enjoy parts over some other parts, but like I don't. That's hard when I talk about the prequels too.
They're rough. I think I actually put The Last Jedi at the very bottom, below the prequels. No, take that back. I take that back. Attack of the Clones at the bottom, then The Last Jedi.
I agree with that. Yeah. So hold on,
I will say The Last Jedi was beautifully filmed. It had some of the best shots in Star Wars.
Oh yeah,
there's ever been.
Oh yeah. I think that's what makes it so hard on your soul, is that like you look at it and it's like, this is a very pretty movie, and out of the, you know, the whole set, the whole saga, I would say that it is one of the most beautifully filmed. But like that's almost what makes the knife in your back hurt more, is because it's like it's Star Wars, but it's not.
And there's so many. It's like going places. It's like, all right, we're gonna go train on the island. No. Luke Skywalker, the hero. No. Okay. Like, oh, you know, Kylo Ren and Rey are having this thing, and it's really touching, and they can force time each other through their force time. Yeah. Like, you know, and it's like, maybe Kylo Ren's not all bad. Maybe this will be a reverse plot, you know. Kylo Ren's going to turn good, and Rey is going to go to the dark side. Maybe they're both going to be neutral. Maybe they're going to join sides, and this is going to take a big turn, and Finn is going to have to be the emotional weight of the show. And there's so many cool things, like, oh, we finally get to meet Snoke, and then nothing happens. Snoke dies instantly. Kylo Ren is angry and mad and killing people for no reason, and then Rey, who basically just goes back on everything, and she's like, save the rebels now. And like, that's the whole movie that bothered me. Or what is it? Lucio and May go on an adventure to the gambling planet. That's Finn and Rose. Finn and Rose. I saw the meme, and that's what I really remember. And I'm like, okay, this is kind of a good dynamic, except it's a little awkward that she has a crush on him, but he likes Rey.
I mean, yeah, it's hard to have a love triangle when it's acute.
Right. But then it's like, we're being chased. Let's just sneak off this ship without anybody noticing. And then they kind of sneak back on later, oddly. But they go on this big adventure to find the hacker, and they screw up finding the hacker spectacularly. And then they decide to trust a random guy in a cell who's like, hey, maybe this is the real hacker. Maybe this is a criminal that's just as good. And then he just betrays them. And all of the work they did was completely wasted for nothing. The same kind of thing at the end of the movie. Finn is going to ram that big jet engine that's going to blow up the base.
You're going where I think you're going. And I feel it.
It's so, some people are saying that's stupid, and yeah, it is. Like, is that ship going to take out that jet engine? I don't know, but it's Finn's story arc of being a stormtrooper and having PTSD and hating and regretting and being ashamed of his old life and loving his new friends, and he's decided that this is his hill to die on, and it's worth his life to break that damn machine so that his friends can keep living. And then here comes Rose. Yeah, don't do it, Finn. You're worth.
Don't do it. I love you.
You have to live. We have to live for each other. And it was like, you just recklessly crashed your ship into him, which is okay. But then it's like, oh, we're gonna live until they come and capture us in the desert and execute us and blow our friends up with that giant cannon over there.
Right. Oh my god, that is probably one of the biggest, like, out of all the moments, that was probably one of the worst parts about it.
Was just the worst. The worst part about it was her just kissing him for no reason. Like,
exactly.
We understand that you had a crush on him, but it's like
Finn's face was just like, what the fuck is happening right now?
Yeah.
It's like, I've been, this entire time he's been chasing booty on Rey, and even when he first sees Rey, he doesn't like awkwardly like, oh, hi, how's it going? Here's a handshake. No, he goes up to her, he's like, hey girl, I knew you were gonna be okay.
Yeah, but there's so much of that, or the whole movie could be summed up in a nutshell. Okay, Luke Skywalker wants to destroy the ancient Jedi records, the books, because they're
which is kind of like Nazi Germany, but go on.
He doesn't believe that the Jedi should exist, which is very nihilistic and weird given how his character was been. And we could talk about how Mark Hamill didn't want to do it this way, but he signed on and he agreed and he gave it his best. So he says, okay, I'm going to destroy these ancient Jedi texts. We're not going to teach them to anybody in the new generation. We're going to let this knowledge die. So he goes to the tree, set it on fire, and he just can't do it. It's not in his heart. It's too valuable. Bam, lightning comes down and does it for him randomly out of nowhere. Then Yoda shows up out of nowhere and lectures him. And Yoda's like, yeah, man, I did that for you. Those books are useless. They don't need to know anything about it. So that whole drama and scene just got completely shit on. And then in like the next scene or two, or like at the end of the movie, there's Rey with the books. She just took them anyway. So it had no meaning whatsoever.
There's a part of that I actually like though, because basically the whole theme of the movie is nothing that you like matters. And there's a part of
this isn't an episode of Rick and Morty though.
But there's a part of that I actually really enjoy. Like I didn't like that they just flat out killed Snoke because I thought, I love Andy Serkis, but also I was hoping that they would do something really big with his character,
turn into a monkey.
But I kind of like I when I watched the movie, I was like, I don't know what's going to happen next, and that's exciting to me. And now having JJ come back for the 9th one, I'm like, all right, the biggest problem I have with The Last Jedi is the fact of Rian Johnson. Looper is one of my all-time favorite movies. Like, I think Looper is just so well done. And when I found out he was directing episode 8, and I was like, oh, it's going to be great. And there's just so much wasted potential, like especially with Benicio del Toro.
Oh my God, yes.
I mean, I hate it. Like, it got on my nerves the entire time. I just felt like they wasted. But it goes back
like people with stutters.
You're probably right about what you like doesn't matter is kind of the point of the movie, and that's a bigger boy tone than Star Wars, which is typically like it caps out at about a 13-year-old's kind of understanding of how adventure works, and that's the fantasy and the appeal of it. This one was much darker and meaner and more real in that, sometimes you can make no mistakes and still lose. We're mixing Star Trek quotes in there now. And that's really real. But I don't think it fit with Star Wars. And it was overwhelmingly, not even if the movie itself wasn't that dark, it was very nihilistic. Like even some of the funnier Rick and Morty episodes that aren't even messed up have that same kind of philosophy. But you mix that in with just a little bit of dumb. For instance, and actually, I've complained about all these things. I didn't complain about my biggest complaint about the movie. The ships are being chased away, and it's kind of a low-speed chase because if they jump, they're just going to jump after them, and it doesn't make much difference, right? Yeah. And this is sort of a totally different thing for Star Wars. This is more of a Star Trek kind of thing where you're matching fuel and you're trying to stay ahead.
Yeah,
and
that's a good point.
That's really interesting. Like, this is a real sort of science fiction chase. And the lady in charge, I guess Queen Purple Hair, I forget her name, comes in charge and she says, okay, everybody maintain course. And you can see everybody in the room because I guess the actors have to act their part. They're like, okay, what's the plan? The plan is maintain course. Poe comes in and like, ma'am, what's the plan? I think we can do something. It's like, you do nothing. You go sit in the corner and wait. And the admirals are like, madam, what's the plan? Maintain and they're like, what the hell? Like, you're just telling me to keep going till I run out of fuel. And they keep about like 8 times in the movie, they keep asking her what the plan is. And she basically tells them they don't need to know. Nobody needs to know. And obviously there is a plan at the end to save everybody, which again fails, is double nihilistic. But she could have just said, okay, the plan is we're going to run a long time until we pass by this planet and then we're going out on pods. Why the hell not just say that? Why not just say, Poe, you don't have to commit treason or whatever and go on your own dangerous mission. You can just wait for like 2 hours and we're jettisoning out of here. Nope. I am in charge. And because I'm in charge, I don't have to tell you anything.
Well, so let me ask you a quick question. How'd you feel about Solo?
Quickly turned into open discussion.
What?
Solo.
I didn't watch it.
Okay. It's fun. It's not The Last Jedi.
Anybody else?
I loved what was Rogue One was great. And I really like The Force Awakens as well.
Yeah.
No, but there's just such weird stuff. Did you ever watch the Mr. Plinkett review of The Last Jedi?
No.
There's a chance I did, but I watched a lot of them.
It was a 2-hour review.
That's very true.
Oh, no, I didn't. Yeah, no.
Okay. So there's a YouTube channel called Red Letter Media, and they have a character called Mr. Plinkett that reviews movies, and they're usually about an hour long, and they're also usually hilarious.
Okay.
The way he described The Last Jedi is this should have been a good movie. You had all these talented people, and you can tell they worked really hard on it, and some parts were really good. And even when you look at the plot, you see there's a lot of good ideas there, but they're good in kind of like a high school literature essay kind of way that was pretty well put together the night before, but didn't really get polished or double checked, and definitely wasn't ready to be turned in yet.
Nick, you're right. This turned into a fucking random tangent about The Last Jedi.
Yeah, so
main
point is Red Dead Redemption should be in small stores.
This is not a video game podcast. This is a movie podcast. Let's talk about Suspiria. Anybody see Suspiria?
Long time ago.
What is Suspiria?
Oh, you're missing out. There's a remake coming out, but the old one's fantastic. It's not that old. It's like late 70s, early 80s.
Okay.
It's one of the few scary movies that is also truly an art film.
Interesting.
It's a hell of a ride. It's a movie that is almost 100% style over substance, but it gets you near the end, even though I think only like 2 people die in the whole movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to say anything about it without spoilers.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, that was a fun. I think that'll, if we just want to keep going with open discussions, we can, because that's pretty much what it got turned into is open discussions. But let's go ahead and move on to our next segment, lists. So I thought, perfect, since we have the master of Call of Duty on here, we might as well talk about some Call of Duty, more specifically our top Call of Duty experiences, both single player, multiplayer, zombies. So I just thought we'd pick a couple and shoot the shit.
Or if you're me, you'll pick like fucking 14 just because I don't know how to make decisions.
Lists are hard.
It's not just complicated.
Drifter, why don't you start us off? Give us a single player experience. Back in the day when they used to exist. Back then.
I loved the intro to Call of Duty 2.
Oh,
the one where it's like you're in Russia and you're training, and you're like throwing. You pick up potatoes and throw them in rings, and you ask your commander, like, why are we throwing potatoes instead of grenades? It's like, Vasily, these grenades are more valuable than you, so you throw potatoes. And so many fun moments, like you crawl through the pipes in, not Pripyat, I'm derping on this one, Stalingrad, and the Nazis hear you and they shoot through the pipes, and it's almost pitch black, and then all these little pinholes of light start popping in your pipe as you squeak through, and you fight people. Close quarters combat in Stalingrad while everybody's cursing at you in Russian and everything's on fire, and such an awesome opening to a campaign. Since then, I haven't been that into COD campaigns. They have some good moments. Primarily, the Modern Warfare series has more memorable moments with like No Russian and the Gillies in the Mist. But for overall quality, Black Ops is the best consistent, fun story all the way through, from killing Castro to Noriega and all sorts of crazy stuff.
Except for Black Ops 3, though.
That was a weird one. Yeah, that's one that I didn't finish all the way.
You weren't missing anything. I finished it, and I had no idea what was going on, and that made me sad because I can't think of the actor's name, the main actor that was in Law and Order SVU and a bunch of other things.
Did you play the Nightmares mode?
Yes.
Okay.
I think so.
That's the mode that actually explains the story.
Oh, so then no, because I didn't know what was going on.
Yeah, so the story, this is something I wanted to make a video on. You're dead the whole time in Black Ops 3, right?
Oh,
I kind of gathered that. Like after playing through it a few times, I kind of gathered that.
So the gist of Black Ops 3 is that you and all of the other characters are long dead, like hundreds of years ago dead.
Oh, Jesus.
And you're in storage, and what you experience is your digitized DNI thing in your head just kind of cycling through memories in storage over and over and over again. So they call it dreaming, and you play through the dream of your life, which is why when you're done and you kind of awaken and realize what's going on, it turns into the nightmare mode because you realize you're trapped.
Interesting. I like that.
Okay.
So Nate, what's a single player for you?
So I can second the whole Black Ops campaigns, especially the first one, being fantastic. Like the story, at first when I played Black Ops, like the multiplayer, the Black Ops 1, I didn't care for it just because I just, as far as it looked like, for example, I remember a huge complaint I had was the ACOG site in Black Ops. I'm like, this is just
useless.
Yeah, it was useless, but it's also like this visually isn't doing anything for me. It was just the lowest quality one that I'd seen thus far. But the multiplayer I warmed up on a lot more, like probably I think it came out in November, and then January I picked it back up. But I remember loving the campaign. As far as one of my favorite moments, it's actually in Black Ops 2. And that's going to be the gunfight that you have with Skrillex's Try It Out in the
club.
Yeah, because it just breaks, the song breaks down, and then you're like slow motion to going back to like normal pace shooting, and it just, I remember I had the same experience in Far Cry 3 whenever you're burning the pot plants and making Bundums playing. Like that was the same experience that I had.
Nice.
Besides that, I know Modern Warfare 2, pretty much everyone either picks Cliffhanger, No Russian, or like the ending pretty much. But the Gulag, I think, was one of my favorite missions in Modern Warfare 2, just because the gameplay of it was super fun, frenetic, and then you get to where you're going and you're like, oh, we're here to rescue Price. And the back and forth that Price and Soap have, I just remember really enjoying.
Yeah. I'd say, as far as like story wise, my very favorite story was actually like Modern Warfare 2, and that's just because like I liked the idea of like World War II, and so now it's coming to our shores, and then like fighting them off, and like you're even like fighting off, you know, invasion like inside a Burger King or a Taco Bell, or and I really like that idea.
Ramirez, do everything.
Yeah, right. But like I really like that, and I think my very favorite part, one that just like really like is burnt into my brain, is right after the EMP goes off. And so like even like your radical, you can't see through your radical, you see some people up front, and you're like I think you say lightning or something, and so like you're saying to yourself, please say thunder, please say thunder. And so finally they say thunder, and it's like, okay. But then you come up to another group, and then, you know, the shit gets real and you start shooting or whatever. But that like tenseness reminds me of like Modern Warfare 1, when you're like crawling through the grass. I almost said grass, when you're crawling through the grass and like the vehicles are going by, and it's like super tense.
Okay.
And so that's one of my other favorite parts as well.
That reminds me, I'm going to throw you a curveball. There was one mission from a much hated game that I loved. I loved playing as the dog in COD Ghosts.
That was fun.
The rest of that campaign, I just slept through.
Yeah.
The dog mission was so fun.
So I want to know, I kind of want to know like a kind of Danny O'Dwyer no clip documentary situation. I kind of want to know what happened with that campaign, if anything, just because, I mean, am I wrong to say that when that was announced, everyone assumed that Ghost from Modern Warfare 2 was going to have something to do with the game?
You're not wrong. They still have branding issues. Infinity Ward has had branding issues for their last 2 games. They have Call of Duty Ghosts with an S, that the majority of people still say COD Ghost singular because of Ghost Riley in Modern Warfare 2. And they expected him to come back there, and they almost kind of teased it, but then they didn't. And even when I was doing YouTube and SEO and tags, I had to type in Ghost singular and Ghost plural to get both the search results. Then their next game is Infinite Warfare by Infinity Ward, coming out close to Infinity War the movie.
Oh wow.
And everybody was like, well, it's actually a year or 2 before, but everybody knew it was coming. So I have people say, why did Infinity War make a bad game? Why did Infinite Warfare make a bad game? Why did Infinite Warfare make Infinity Ward? And it just gobbledygook. Somebody just did a terrible job branding all of those names. But as for the Ghosts campaign, I do know they had a lot stacked against them. So during Modern Warfare 3 was when the studio split. And a lot of the top talent left, and it left, we'll just say, not as many of the top guys. So they had to hire out. And I know they had to outsource out and take in Neversoft and some stuff to finish. And they started working on Ghost with less talent. Well, then in the middle of that, you have the console launches. So they dropped the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One. And Activision obviously has contracts, so it's like, all right, Infinity Ward, you have to make your game run on Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, PC, Xbox One, and PlayStation 4. Oh, by the way, you're not going to get the dev kits until like 6 months before the consoles come out.
Oh, right.
I do know one story with Xbox in particular that Microsoft sent out the console dev kit. Okay. But they didn't send out the software until like way later. And what they didn't tell you is that the operating system used like 15% of the power constantly for the Kinect and for other things. So they built the game to use the system, and then they had to like squeeze out 10% more performance somehow because they didn't allocate for the operating system, which was insane. And you're crunching for 5 consoles, 2 new ones with less staff and half your talent. And it just punished them severely.
Yeah, that makes sense. That definitely. I remember Ghost coming out, and because I remember being like, oh, I'm gonna buy it for PS3, and then I turned it in to get the PS4 version when the PS4 came out. So, but I never kind of equated development wise that would be such an issue.
Yeah, I mean, you can see it because like some of the campaign missions are great. Like the dog one was pretty good.
I liked the one in space. Space one was pretty good.
That was a super fun one too. But then a lot of the other campaign, especially as you go further along, it gets worse. And you see it with some of the multiplayer maps being fantastic and interactive and transformable, and then lots of other maps just being garbage.
Yeah. I think Ghost and in my opinion is probably one of the more like underappreciated one. It's like it's my Last Jedi for equating it to Nate.
See, I feel like it's that. I feel like it's Ghost for me or Modern Warfare 3, because Modern Warfare 3 campaign and multiplayer I enjoyed a lot, and I feel like it kind of in like the main. I don't want to say mainstream, but in the main eye gets a lot more flack, and probably for reasons.
Love MW3.
Well, like I've seen like people when people do lists or whatever, they always talk about how much they didn't like Modern Warfare 3, and I'm like, it was kind of just a continuation of Modern Warfare 2, like as far as multiplayer goes. So, I mean, but I know that like I've got a buddy who loves Ghosts, like the multiplayer. Like before Black Ops 4 came out, that was his main. He would just play that all the time.
I don't know how the multiplayer was the worst part, dude. You had insta kill dogs and IEDs everywhere, and all sorts of weird glitches. And
I liked it at launch, and then following, I was just like, I can't. That's when I fell out of.
Bad spawns, insane time to kills, leaning that was glitched. Your hitbox wouldn't match your lean animation. The bomb glitch in Search and Destroy. So many bad things about Ghosts. It just went crazy.
All right, so multiplayer. What multiplayer experiences would you say are your favorite, Drifter?
Oh boy, I've played so many multiplayer games. In Call of Duty, favorite multiplayer experiences. Probably some of my favorite experiences with COD have been on Blackout recently. I love Blackout mode and the emergent gameplay you get with vehicles and just crazy fights. Playing main stage with Pinkwall versus actual pro teams was really fun in Advanced Warfare. And I did have, I'm trying to think. Favorite multiplayer experience. I think one of my favorite experiences was at a reveal event. Which one was it? I think it was for Black Ops 4 more recently. We were playing Alpha, and I got there, and I noticed that it wasn't balanced properly, so I put like 10 attachments on my pistol.
Oh, geez.
All the YouTubers and pros and like really sweaty boys were there. And I just mopped up and went like 40 and 2 tack knifing people. Very satisfying.
Nice.
Yeah. Black Ops 4. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
No, Nate. I was just saying your name.
Oh, well, so like, yeah, I remember when the beta was going on and you're posting your videos. The one in particular that I showed to Nick and everyone else was when you were talking about the, what was it? The frames, the video about where, when you would be bleeding out, it was like you broke down. I don't remember what the title of it was.
So when you get shot, your screen would just go dark.
Yeah.
I remember that in the game. It's still annoying.
Yeah. Well, I remember the armor being a big issue too, and then now I don't see it nearly as much. But for me, favorite multiplayer experiences, one of the obvious ones would be Rust from MW2. I mean, that's where everyone goes to beef out. But I think Black Ops 2's multiplayer as a whole is some of my favorite experiences. Kind of like with Halo, like Halo 3, everyone loves. Well, that's Halo Reach for me because I spent almost all of my time in Halo Reach and I got really, really high up there. I wasn't like Reclaimer or anything like that, but I put a lot of hours into Black Ops 2, and it was my favorite for a long time. And I don't know, Black Ops 4 is starting to get there. I'm still getting adjusted to the multiplayer as a whole. Which I find very funny that I'm playing less Black Ops 4 maps than actual Black Ops 1 maps. Like in my lobby rotations, it's either jungle
vote for the old maps, man.
Yep.
You did remind me though of my actual favorite moment. It just came back. Nuke boosting in Modern Warfare 2 with hacks. People could mod their game to where they would get a guaranteed nuke in a care package, and they would run hardline or whatever, so it only took like 3 or 4 kills. This kid did it the game before. And I learned his little tricks. So the next game, I followed him around and watched him get 4 kills and then call in his care package. So then I shot him in the back and called in the nuke for my team. And in the next lobby, I could hear this 9-year-old just screaming and raging and call me all sorts of words. Very satisfying moment.
Yeah.
I miss those I miss compilation videos, like some of the really good Black Ops 1 ones, where they would either do the skits, or there was one where they were playing a gun game, and this dude was following this kid around, just stabbing him, and he was like,
"Oh yes, Mom!" They were resetting him constantly."
Yeah,
I remember that.
Oh man, good times.
So multiplayer for me, I'd say I have to agree with you as far as like Black Ops 2 is probably one of the best experiences as far as like as a whole. I'll say this much. It's the only Call of Duty game I played enough to actually prestige at all. Like I think in most Call of Duties, if I made it past like 30 or something, 30 or 40 or somewhere in that range, like that was usually my range. Usually by the time I played there, I'm like, like I feel like I've played enough. But Black Ops, and part of the reason is because my wife played it with me, and so it was actually like more of a bonding experience, and so it was so much easier for me to get into it, because it's like, if she got home, for instance, she was at work or whatever, and she got home, instead of being like, oh, well, can we watch something together? Can we go watch a movie? Blah, blah, blah. Instead, she'd be like, hey, can I join in the next match? And I'm like, well, fuck yeah, you can. So it was like super easy for me to get into it. Not only that, but like, I think Black Ops 2 is like the only multiplayer game my wife has ever played by herself. Like without me. Usually I can get her to play a multiplayer game, but it has to be like with me. So like Black Ops is the only one that she's actually ever played by herself. I'm not even home or anything like that. So yeah, I have to agree with you on that.
Well, like even prestiging, I think prestiging, especially in Call of Duty games, is a fantastic barometer for the longevity of it. Like going back to Ghosts. No? Well, you don't agree?
I think it's a grind. I hate grinds.
Well, no. I know for me personally, that's a good barometer of if I enjoy the multiplayer enough to prestige. So like,
I don't care for the mechanic, like grinding out all my stuff again, is super boring.
Yeah, no, I get that, but I'm the same way with him. Black Ops 2, I prestiged a good few times, and then I think I did for Modern Warfare 3 as well. But like Ghosts, I think I got to like 40. I think it was close to first prestige, and I'm like, I just don't want to. I just don't care.
Yeah. I think I was right about the same for Ghost, even though I really like Ghost. I mean, probably more than this whole chat room right now, but
Ghost was better than Infinite Warfare. I think everyone can agree multiplayer wise.
Yeah, multiplayer wise.
Yeah.
Infinite Warfare campaign was interesting.
I thought it was fantastic. I think it's one of the best, like cinematic wise, in that the series.
Other planets, good acting, interesting robot. Multiplayer for Infinite Warfare was a pain for me. I do know it got better, and they changed it and improved it and stuff, but like Dude, it lost me. It lost me.
Yeah. I just hate how they took something so cool as like going around in space and like all this like really cool stuff, and then like literally as soon as you click onto multiplayer, this little cutscene plays, and in the cutscene they basically just shit all over the single player and say, well, they were basically saying it's like we don't do any of that like nerdy stuff. It's like this is all about being bros and killing stuff. I mean, obviously I'm paraphrasing, but that's pretty much like the gist that he talked about. Is like this isn't about this and this is just about going out and killing. It's like, so they pretty much just said like everything that you would have learned from single player meant absolutely shit, because it's like here it's just like, yeah, let's be bros and let's get our KD up, man.
So Drifter, let me ask you a question. Do you think that Infinite Warfare at launch and then pretty much until the next Call of Duty, do you think that did a lot to harm Call of Duty content?
Yes. It hurt the Call of Duty brand. It crushed my content, my channel, me personally. It was a nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I kind of got that vibe, because I remember. I mean, the trailer was one of the biggest indicators at the start, was how many dislikes it got compared to likes. But I remember, because I followed a lot of creators over the past, since YouTube started, and I remember almost unanimously it was like, okay, I'm not seeing as much Call of Duty content anymore from anyone, and I completely understand. But what
I said, and now it's cool again.
Yeah,
for now.
Yeah,
until next year, until Infinity Ward.
I really hope they redeem themselves. I really
do. They won't.
And see, that's one thing I think is definitely worth talking about. I've always liked Treyarch, and I've always felt like Treyarch is just like the best Call of Duty maker. And in fact, if you go like back into the history of just like Call of Duty in general, I feel like Treyarch, when there are innovations that not only get made in Call of Duty but actually stick around, it's Treyarch doing it. Pick 10, like the specialists of like the ultimates or whatever. Basically, it's like stuff like that stuck around because Treyarch did it and they did it right. But then anything else like the destructible environments and Ghost, or like the dashing. I mean, I don't know what to call it, because it was what was it? Advanced Warfare. Advanced Warfare came around. They just you know what I mean? Like, so like that didn't stick around, but anytime something new comes up, it's usually from Treyarch, and it's usually the best, at least in my opinion.
So it's very interesting, especially going back to Infinite and see, I did it just now. Ward, to actually visibly be able to see talent leaving when I can't remember their names, but whenever they created Respawn, and then when Titanfall came out.
Vince Impel and Adam West.
Thank you. And Titanfall 2 in particular, because I've spent the most time in there, how much of a fantastic game Titanfall 2 is.
Yeah, if only EA wasn't trying to kill Titanfall.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
No, definitely not. No, not by any means. I still say it's one of the best jetpack games of the generation.
Both Titanfall 1 and 2 are beautiful games, but they got killed by EA way too early.
For sure.
Yep.
So EA forced Titanfall 1 Xbox exclusive, even though they were literally developing a PlayStation version, and the lead developers found out it was Xbox exclusive while they were on the show floor of E3.
What?
Yep.
Oh my God.
And then they told them, oh yeah, since the Xbox One isn't getting a lot of sales, you now have to make an Xbox 360 version. Yay. Okay. And then for Titanfall 2, I think they just sensed that Call of Duty was weak and there was blood in the water that year. So they launched Titanfall 2 to compete with Call of Duty and with their own product Battlefield and with Overwatch. And I think that's when Siege was picking up, and all these other games just dumped in like 1 week, either massive updates or new releases. And then there's Titanfall 2 sandwiched in there.
Yeah, that was single-handedly the stupidest decision that they could have made. It was definitely like the first cut of 1,000 cuts. I hope. I mean, I feel like at this point it's just a fanboy hope, but it's like I hope they keep going. But it's like if they do, it's like at what cost? What's it going to cost? Respawn, because now they are under the boot of EA, and it's like
I think that was what they wanted. Is they wanted them to underperform so they could force buyout.
Exactly. Inner office like politics and stuff can sometimes just be like one of the most interesting things, which is why I'm kind of glad that something like No Clip exists. It's like I'm glad, or Jason Schreier, for instance, I'm glad that we're getting taken serious enough where it's like people actually want to like dive deep into like what makes games and everything. Like I still can't wait to figure out what the fuck happened with Konami and stuff. Like that will be like the Shane Dawson needs to do a Konami special in the mind of Konami.
Right. And then, and then it's just the most like philosophical thing you've ever ingested in your life.
Right. So last one, zombies, best zombies experience. Drifter.
I'm in the same boat you are, because I can't I
don't play that much zombies, dude.
Really?
Yeah, really, I don't play zombies. I can only do so many things at one time. So
well, of course, yeah.
I've got enough stuff to balance as is.
I'm a huge zombie fan. It's it's kind of easy for me. I'd say two biggest ones is I'm actually one of the people who actually like really like Transit, even though like the quote unquote OG like zombie fans, they kind of didn't like it, even though I feel like there was a resurgence towards the end. But I really like that. And then I'd say one of my favorite ones of all time has to be Mob of the Dead. Getting all the parts of the plane together and flying over there, and that's how you get your pack-a-punch or whatever. Like doing that was like, and even when you look at its counterpart, which is now Blood of the Dead, what I like about it so much is that it takes what I absolutely loved about Mob of the Dead and it expands on it. So it's like I was actually kind of pissed off. Like we're launch day, I get on, I'm like, okay, like the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna play zombies. Like I got my wife here, we like playing zombies together, so that's what we're gonna do. Boom, we go in. I go to Blood of the Dead because Mob of the Dead's my favorite one of all time. I get in there, I'm like, well, this is different. I go to the next area. This is still different. What the heck? Where's the corridors and where's the Broadway? Like where's my map? And I'm like, I'm so pissed. It wasn't until like the day after, or maybe even 3 days after, because I tried out the other zombie maps as well, until I finally got to the spot where you actually get into the prison, because like you start off on like a separate island. And so then there's other things that are just expanded, like you can actually go into the warden's like house, and there's just like certain trails that are a little bit different. Even getting the Redeemer, which is the tomahawk, even getting that is very similar, but then how you actually retrieve it is a little bit different. So I like that. And so, but I just, what?
You just made yourself laugh.
I do it all the time. But I mean, it's probably one of my funnest experiences in zombies in general. And then like I'll cheat a little bit, because actually one of my favorite, not the favorite, because it's still Mob of the Dead, but one of my favorite zombies experience is actually Extinction. I super loved Extinction. Oh yeah, extremely underrated. The fact that it was attached to Ghost is one of the main reasons that it sucked. I feel like if they could have like somehow taken that mode and just made it its own game, like, and maybe charge like $14.99, $19.99, something like that. Like if they could have done that all by itself, or if there was a Kickstarter that said we're remaking Extinction, but it's its own game, I'd be like, here's my money, just shut up, don't tell me anything else. Here's my goddamn money. I would take it in heart, because like the Extinction mode was so good. And I did a video about this recently, basically saying how it's like, I really wish all the different companies would just do their own damn thing, because as soon as everybody just started copying zombies, it just became so redundant. It just became bad. And Treyarch, here you come along and they come with their zombie modes, and it's just so much better because they know how to treat it. They know how to pacing is the biggest thing. Just they know how to pace it correctly. And just any of the other zombie modes, it's like, oh, they're zombies, but now they have exosuits on it. Oh, they're zombies, but now it's the 80s and the lifeguard guys here.
Yeah, I mean, I can agree with that, just because like in Modern Warfare 2 and 3, I loved Spec Ops. Like I liked having that additional side thing, and kind of wish that that's what we got with Specialist Headquarters, and a little disappointed in that. But I understand, I guess. But yeah, I agree. I agree with what you're saying. I think Extinction is one of the standouts, and I personally think that Infinite Warfare Zombies is a decent standout, just because to me it feels like traditional zombies that we know. It's got really different fun film settings. Whereas like I tried to play World War II Zombies because it looked a lot more horror and it looked like it would be fun, but I couldn't. It just didn't have the same feeling. Like I couldn't get into it.
But I think that was a detriment to most of the audience. The film setting for Infinite Warfare Zombies was great. The 80s, and they had 80s actors, and then you did 90s and you had 90s actors.
Yeah.
And then you did 50s, and you didn't have 50s actors, but you had Elvira who watched 50s movies, and you had all these. You had Pam Grier and Pee Wee Herman and Scooby-Doo references.
Kevin Smith.
Yeah, Kevin Smith, Jay and Silent Bob. You had a lot of deep, good like horror movie trope Easter eggs, and that any fan of horror or movie fan would appreciate. But the majority of the audience, which are teenagers, would not have seen those films or learned those things yet or give a shit about them. They want new things. Old is for old people. So I think they really missed their core audience, despite the fact that they made a really good zombies mode. Oh, and that some of the maps were unfinished when they launched. They had to get patched later.
Yeah, right. So, I mean, Nate, did you have any like zombies experiences?
Not necessarily. I think
the Titanic was pretty good, wasn't it?
The Titanic was fun, yeah, for sure. Voyage of Despair is really fun. My favorite experiences have been with Black Ops 4 so far. I do love Black Ops 1 zombies. I love all the maps from there, Kino, and I know most of those are a majority of those is from World at War, but I really just that was probably the most that I played zombies was in Black Ops 1, and then and there. I'm not like, if Jeff was on here, he would just go an hour about how, zombies, but I'm not a big Easter egg guy. Like that's kind of the thing with zombies is I'll play for the horde mode aspect, but the Easter egg thing, I just never really got into,
Yeah, I was kind of the same way. Like even now it's like I look at some videos online about how to do certain things and I'm just like, that's too much. It's just too much. It's like, like I don't mind doing the pack-a-punch. That's super fun. And doing certain steps to the Easter eggs is fine. But then it's like going through everything and having to get out your calligraphy and like getting a master's degree in like other languages and stuff like to finish is so ridiculous. And like, I think one of the worst ones was actually Origins, which, if you don't know, is basically the one that was kind of like in the trenches with the giant ass robots. But like there were certain things like you had to like decipher certain things on the wall, and then that turned it into like notes on a keyboard, and then you had to do the notes down in I don't know. It was so I watched it and I'm just like, why would I do that just for the accomplishment of doing? Well, not only that, but like this goes back to, we had a discussion 1 or 2 episodes ago, but we were talking about like the adventure games and how it's like it basically has you do certain things, and it's like, why would I ever even think about doing that, without actually or with just playing the game and trying to have a good time? Why would I think of doing X, Y, and Z? I wouldn't. You like, the only way you created it that way was specifically for those type of gamers who hunt for that kind of stuff. But that's not everybody. It's like, I wish there was like maybe one Easter egg that was, easily obtainable, and then another one that was just kind of in the background. I don't know. Like, I guess that would kind of defeat the purpose though.
I mean, I can't think it really comes down to like I know not for a fact, but that the whole thing with Easter eggs is at least how it was explained to me is it's very much like niche to the core zombies players. You know, it's stuff that they love, but a lot of the majority either don't do them or are just play to play. So it really just depends on who you are, kind of what style you like to play, pretty much. But yeah.
What was the last thing you said? I had to mute.
It's cool. It's my life. I understand. Fuck me, right? Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. I had to mute because she was starting to talk again.
It's fine. What I said wasn't very important anyway. I just said that
Easter eggs are niche to a very hardcore group of zombie players, and that most players don't go that deep in.
Yeah.
Unlike me and your mom, when the rent is due.
Welcome to my life.
It's always some variation of the rent's due. I gotta have some money. Your mom's around, so give the old gal just a couple of.
Yeah, that speaking of rent due, that was a real fun part in Venom that everyone should see. So this is a tangent, but we've already gone on this. I saw something when going into this movie that was like Tom Hardy and Venom seem to be the only people who don't realize this is a serious movie. And I was like, oh, that's kind of what and then I saw it and I'm like, oh, it makes sense.
So I think like the last subject we'll kind of talk about is like, where do we hope Black Ops will go in the future? I think me and Nate were talking the other day. We watched your video, the funny one where you did the sacrifices to the Treyarch or whatever.
Oh God,
and you were basically saying that Blackout should be its own thing. So it's like, unfortunately, we don't get that situation because that would obviously be the best situation. But of the situation we have right now, like what would be what we hope comes from Black Ops and like their whole season that they have planned?
I would hope they'd spin Blackout into a $20 or $30 game on its own, or even Zombies on its own. They're at a point where each product is so independent they could separate it. They just put in the contraband supply stream and they did the math. It takes 500 hours of play to unlock the whole tiers without paying any money. It averages out to about 8 or 10 hours a day for the whole pass, which is ludicrous. And I'm not doing that. So there has to be, and I do get that the supply stream thing has to be monetized in some way because that's going to be their new version of microtransactions, however this pans out. It's going to be like a Fortnite season pass kind of, right? But in the Fortnite season pass, it launched with clearly separated tiers of stuff. This one just has one tier, and we don't know what the monetization point is going to be, but we do know the tier we've got is super slow, which turns a lot of people off. So that needs some work. And what I'm really hoping for is a lot of events for Blackout. I don't care that much about regular multiplayer. The Battle Royale has me. Hook, line, and sinker. I'm in. Multiplayer I was good with during the reveal and stuff, but now that I've played Blackout, it's just not as appealing. Mm-hmm. Blackout needs more gun camos, more character skins. It needs the emotes and stuff are obviously coming. Blackout needs a few, balance patches and stuff, but events like on Halloween, there's zombies everywhere, all over the map. Or
yes, please.
Just things like that. On Halloween, every person you kill, they come back as a zombie. So be careful when you wipe that squad. Or Day of the Dead something, and then Christmas, the map is snowy. You have to be able to do these kind of things. Or on Christmas, the supply thing that flies by is Santa Claus on his sleigh, and you have to shoot him down and go pick up the present packages. And just dumb. Blackout is a mode where you can do those dumb things and get away with them.
That's a good point.
That's what I want to see.
So
yeah, definitely. Go ahead.
You kind of touched on this a little bit in that same video, which, by the way, I'm not just to blow smoke up your ass. That was one of my I saw the preview that you posted on Twitter, and I was like, I wonder what this is going to be. And then that Vonderhaar sacrifice video was just hilarious. But one of the things you pointed on was that potentially having Blackout be, at least I'm pretty sure you did, if not anyway, is have going forward into new Call of Duties, have Blackout be, okay, now it's your turn. You're going to add your additions to the map. You're going to do this for like Sledgehammer or for Infinity War. My personal opinion, I think that Blackout is exciting in the sense of this could be a new territory for Call of Duty to not necessarily dominate, but to to kind of get out of the, oh, it's just another Call of Duty every year. Like now they have something to talk about, and now they have something that going forward could be something super cool. You know what I mean? But yeah, I agree with that 100%. I think that would be fantastic. And that would get me to play more, have more like seasonal event kind of things. I've enjoyed my time with Blackout. I'm still kind of waning into it just because I've always just been multiplayer. And like, I liked Fortnite, but I'm not a big battle royale player, but Blackout, so far has been my favorite out of all the ones that I've played.
Oh yeah, I definitely have to agree as far as, you know, my liking it. I like it a lot. I would like, one of my main complaints, and I don't play enough of it, you know, but I talked about this before on Weekly Grind. But one of my main complaints is I feel like most of the time when the circle, you know, hones in on something, it's not on a main, you know, it's not on a point of interest. It's in the like middle of bumfuck nowhere. And so I'm like, but I want it to close down on Nuketown. I want it to close down on the asylum. It does sometimes, yes. I'm just saying, like, I wish it happened a lot more often.
That's the nature of battle royale games, though. Even Fortnite and PUBG is that there's more, we'll say, empty space than there are named locations and big spots.
So I mean, that could be something to differentiate themselves. Make it an event, so to speak. You know, like, or
I kind of like fighting in the woods and stuff better, because the woods and the rocks are like, they're like bounce houses. You've got cover and plains, and it's kind of simple, and you move around and you use the hills. If you're fighting in the construction or in Nuketown with the bunkers, it just turns into absolute chaos.
It makes it more tense too. Because I mean, I was playing with T-Foles, and we were like outside of we were close to the hydro plant. But no, we were close to where the track is, where the railroad track is. We were on a hill, and there are people that were sniping, and so we're like, all right, like, get down. And we were like prone in the grass, and then from different angles we were hearing the ATVs come in, and we, like, it's kind of one of those, I don't know what's going on. Do I pop up? When do I not? It, like, I liked that a lot more than just jumping straight. Like, I rarely ever jump into firing range, just because I like the longevity of it. I don't want to just.
You don't like to die in 30 seconds because you found a pistol and they have level 3 armor and shotgun.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's not me. I like the long game.
Yeah, I like the idea, especially for Halloween, having like zombies everywhere. I remember them saying something, and I don't know if this was just like offhandedly or if it was actually like an official thing, but I remember them saying something about like their Halloween event. It has more of a chance of ending on a zombie spot, but it's like, I like your version more, where it's like there's just zombies everywhere. You know, like I like that. Like
kind of turns like into Daisy.
What? Sorry.
Kind of turns it into like DayZ for a season,
right? When I had another podcast once in a fortnight, I had a whole section where like I pitched an idea, and my idea was basically like a PvP VE, where it's like you have everybody dropping in, but then you also had the husks. So you have the different types of husks, you know, just normal ones, the big smashers, pitchers, which are the ones that like throw stuff at you, have all those. And instead of having chests, you get your loot from the different types of husks. So in this case, maybe zombies. And then the harder the husk was, the more likely you'd get like some really good loot. And it's like, I really wish, you know, they would have done something like that, because like for me, I came into Fortnite from Save the World. And then I could say the same thing about Black Ops, or Blackout rather, that I came into this from zombies, my love of zombies, my love of multiplayer and stuff like that. So if they could figure out ways to not just differentiate it from other battle royales, but just really make it its own thing. And having modes like that is really what they need to do. Like, they need to go crazy. You know, you can have your duos and quads and stuff like that, have that, and then have a completely new one, maybe change it up every week, change it up every other week, you know, keep it interesting, you know, because one thing that they said during their launch thing that I thought was interesting was like, they were like, oh, we want people to be playing this for 4 years. It's like, this for 4 years? It's like, I could see that on one hand, but on another hand, it's like, what are you going to do to keep me there? Because that's the most important part, is like keeping the people there, keeping us interested. And I mean, they really just, they need to go crazy, because it's like when Fortnite is doing like missiles and volcanoes and stuff, it's just, you need to do something just as good, or you need to be so different that it's just even better. I don't know. So anyways, all right, I'm gonna mark it right there. All right, I think was that pretty good? Was there anything else we wanted to bring up, Drifter? Anything else you wanted to bring up?
I think I am good.
Anything you want to like tease, pimp?
Not yet.
I'm not asking you to say anything, but like if you had some good stuff coming up.
I think I already made all of my big announcements. I'm going to the Stream Invitational for Fortnite. I'm going to Sweden for a secret project, and that's my big stuff that I've got going on in the next week. But that's already been kind of announced. So I'm sitting on nothing right now.
Alrighty. Well, I think that's going to be the show. Thank you so much, Drifter, for coming on here.
Glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
And make sure you guys check out Drifter if you haven't already. Obviously, he's on YouTube, or check him out on Twitter or Twitch or any other places. Yeah, thank you so much for joining us today, Drifter. It was really nice to have you on, and you know, hopefully we can stay in contact and everything. Nate, thank you so much as always, as being a good co-host.
See, I just assumed you were going to shit on me, but I
hey, no, why would I do that? You're so good at what you do.
Don't lie to people. They don't know what happens off. They don't know what happens off air. I mean, don't lie to them. Just
once these recordings go off, it's just like
close out the show, you jerk.
All right, thank you for joining us for Nerd to the Third, where you can always talk nerdy to me.